Okay, let's break into this Pro Qualifier 2 from Bass Pro Shops. We're going to oil this reel up and try to get it feeling like it's new again. First thing you're going to do is you're going to slide this bar toward the handle. Most of these open up the same way, or at least similar ways. You're going to twist this up and then wiggle this door off. We'll set it aside, then you're going to lift this spool out and set it aside. Now I didn't mention it, but if you'll notice, I taped this spool. I'm going to leave this line on it, so that helps keep that line where it just don't come apart. Now when you've got this thing apart, you don't want to spin this a whole lot because you can get this to lodge in there and break some gears and stuff. So don't spin your reel too much. If it spins accidentally, that's no big deal, but don't spin it a lot. Okay, so the first place I'm going to oil is right down in there. And I'm just going to put a couple drops in there. I'm also going to put a drop right here on this shaft. You can put some right here on this blue shaft too if you're having trouble with it opening up, but I don't need to right now. And you can also put a little oil right here, not much at all, but right here where this button slides back and forth, okay? Now I've got a little bit right there. I can put some in there too. I don't know if I had that at the right angle where you could see it, but it was right here. Okay, now you can set your reel aside for now. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this shaft and I'm going to oil this shaft a little bit, and I'm going to oil these bearings. Just a couple drops on each side, one drop on that shaft. And now I can drop this back down there where it belongs. You just got to get it straight and it'll fall right in there. And then on the door, put you a couple of drops on each side of this, or one drop on each side of that bearing. And then I just kind of touch a little bit on these brakes like that. Okay. Now this particular reel sometimes is a little bit hard to open. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put just a little bit of oil right around the edge of this, because that's where it likes to hang up. And I think that oil will make it a little bit easier to put on and off. Now just have that at the angle that you pulled it off. Twist it down and it'll lock into place. Okay, now next, you have a silver bar in here, and you want to put a little bit of oil on it, and your line guide goes back and forth on that bar. That's why you put some in there. You also have worm gears that control this line guide. Put a little bit on those gears. And now spin your reel a little bit, work that oil in there really good. Now typically you can get away with doing this depending on how much you fish. I do this about every 3 weeks or so usually, or if I'm going to be in a tournament, I do the whole thing. And I'm going to show you how to do the rest of it, but the part that I just did, I would do it a lot more frequently than what I'm about to do. Now this part I do about once a month or every 6 weeks or so, or if I'm fishing a tournament, I go through all my reels and do this part. So the first thing I'm going to do is take this screw out right here. And most reels work typically the same way, so if you have a different kind of reel, this video might still help you a little bit. or I've got several other videos of doing this to different reels as well. Now, pry that keeper piece up, set it aside, and then you've got a nut here. Now this nut, you just want to loosen it up and take it off there. And then you're going to take your handle off. You've got a washer on the back side of this handle, so remember that. Remember where it goes. Now, you've got your drag handle here, and you're just going to unscrew it. Once it quits clicking, it gets really easy. And then take it off. Once you've got that off, you've got 3 washers here. Make sure you know that this serrated one goes on the top. Set them aside, and now you're to the point here where you want to go ahead and oil this reel. So just put a little bit of oil down in here. Don't take a whole lot. And while you've got this open, go ahead and take your tension knob off. This is the perfect time to do this. So, okay, you see right there, I've got some trash on the end of that. I don't want to get that in my reel. So I'm going to take that off. And I probably got it from right here on this shaft. So I'm going to wipe that down a little bit and get some of that grime out of there. If you see it, go ahead and get it off. So once I get this grime out, I'm going to go ahead and oil that a little more, because I probably wiped off some of that. Okay. Now, your tension knob. It's got a bearing inside there, so put a couple drops on that bearing and then one little drop right there on the end of that shaft. And then put your knob back on. Make sure it goes on easy. It shouldn't have any resistance. You don't want to cross thread that. And now you can put this back together. Any of these parts that are grimy or have dirt or anything on them, go ahead and wipe them down, clean them up right now. Okay, so we had our 3 washers that went right here, and you just got to get them on there the correct way. And then your serrated one goes on top. Okay, now you have your drag handle, and it's really clean in there. And you can put a little bit of oil right there just to make it easier to spin if you want to. Same thing with this, make sure it goes on super easy, because you do not want to strip anything there. Now, if you'll hold on to your line guide here, where I've got my thumb, you can twist this back on there. If you let go, that line guide moves. So just twist it back on there. Don't get this tight or anything. Now, the next thing we had was this washer. It went behind your handle. So we'll get it down there. Put your handle back on. Put the nut back on. And you're going to tighten this nut up. And it don't have to be real tight. Then you're going to put this piece on. Now when you put this piece on, line it up best you can with this hole. Now I got it perfect there, but you may need to loosen or tighten your nut to get it just right. Now I'm going to take my screw here. Put it back in there. Now we've got Couple more things left to do. Just get you something to pry with. You can even use your fingernails a lot of times to get these out. Different reels are different ways. Some of them have a little hole there that you can just stick a paper clip or something in, and some of them don't. Once you get that pried out, you'll see that there's a screw down in there. Now if you'll take that screw out, oh, that one's tight. There it goes. You don't want to strip that head out. Just take that screw loose. And I try to leave it in that handle the way it is. Seems like it's always easier to get put back in that way. Now, you see what you got there. A lot of grime and stuff got down in here. So clean it off with the rag. And put you a little oil on this shaft. It don't take a lot. Don't need to be dripping off or anything. And then you're going to slide this back in there. Line your screw back up. Back on there. Work that oil in there and then wipe off any of the excess that got on your handle. Now I'm going to do it to this other side. Alright, now one more spot you can get is right down here on this bigger bar on the back side of those worm gears is a good place to get to, because it's a spot that can collect a lot of dust and stuff, grime from the fishing line and all that. But once you got to that point, you should have a reel that feels a whole lot better and it'll last you a long time.